Hi everyone, I want to make a new series of videos. Wow, that was such a YouTube thing to do. Yeah, let's not do that. So I want to make a new series which would explain things in the Dota 2 scene, in the esports scene, in any world, any kind of prominent issue which is appearing in my community, in my circle. I wanted to just help by explaining it to you. That's what I wanted to do. So this is the video kicking us all off. I'll explain more about a series at the very end of the video because you don't want to hear any more of this shit. It's already a 30-second long intro. That's way too long anyway. So, Valve video policy is where we're going to begin. The Valve video policy is something which has been around for a very long time. It was definitely designed back in the day to help TF2, Counter-Strike fan videos, to know that they could use anything which is inside a Valve game to create an awesome content piece. Content creators were the pinnacle, like the keystone for Valve's success, because Valve would build a game and the community would come because one, the game was great, and two, the word of mouth spread everything of how awesome this game was. And this is what they want to, and is very true to a Valve way, they want to carry on into Dota 2. Now, Dota 2 has kind of brought in a whole new problem to this, because you actually have payment for tickets inside the game. So there's a payment for a service, and then there's question marks that start appearing around this. And this is what brings us to our current drama. So the current drama is the fact that StarLadder was shutting down streamers. Slightly before this was Grant casting minors and majors, and also wondering like if he should actually be doing this or not, because he got more viewers than the primary stream. So the community actually asked the first real questions about this of, is Grant actually taking from, I think he was going against a Moonduck or a BTS stream at the time, and he had like 11,000 to the 4,000 that the mainstream had. I also found myself in this position casting the SEA matches for the Perfect World minor, where I had more viewers than the Beyond the Summit stream where Zyclops was casting. And people begged the question, is this allowed? Is this meant to happen? The shit hit the fan when Admiral Bulldog, probably the biggest streamer out of anyone who's been involved in this, was basically told to shut down his stream, please, because he's streaming StarLadder games, and StarLadder didn't want this. StarLadder was also shutting down other streams, like the French stream who was providing French commentary of the tournament, but they weren't a partner with StarLadder, and a couple of other things. So the content creators were the ones who were coming under fire, and then StarLadder came under fire, and we had communities fighting from either side. So you had the guys who were like, we've got to protect the organizers, and the others who are like, we've got to protect the content creators. But what we have to think about is, who exactly is the content creators? Who owns the content that is created? So you have the tournament organizers who are creating the actual game content because they put the teams in one location. Without the tournament organizers, the teams would never be in that location, they never played the game, and the game would never appear on Dota TV, which gives them a very strong claim to the fact that they own the content. Then the Valve video policy says anything which is inside of our game actually belongs to us, so then the debate is Dota 2 is owned by Valve, and Valve have made their video policy very public, saying everything which is inside the game, please use to commercialize. The video policy, I'll link below so you can read the entire details yourself, but that's the broad summary of it. So, you've got content creators who believe they're in the right because the video policy supports them, and then you've got the content creators of the tournaments who believe they're in the right because they're the ones who actually finance the whole thing to get the game to happen in the first place, and are doing their own coverage of it as well. So they believe they're doing enough that justifies their rights to the content. Now, Valve come out and they make a post and they say, okay, we want people to keep creating content. We're going to have a couple of conditions. This is just explaining the video policy. It's almost like an amendment, not an amendment, because that would mean they changed their video policy. It's an addition to explain what they said before in their video policy. So more humanizing a way of explaining what is meant to be legal text. Even though we still have to keep in mind, this is all on a website and isn't really in a proper legal document. So again, is this whole up in court? There's even more question marks, and welcome to the grey area that everyone likes to refer to. Who owns the content? Does it belong to Valve? Does it belong to the organizer? Does it belong to the person who's streaming? Now, Valve has said you're not allowed to commercialize this when you stream out games from Dota TV, so don't use the camera, don't use the audio. This is a great step forward. There's there's YouTube channels out there which are always streaming this stuff. Dota Tournaments TV, and they changed their modification of their name, so it's Dota 2 Tournaments or Dota 2 TV. Like, there's so many channels out there that basically take the game, the camera perspective and the commentary of the caster, and then just push it out as their own content, both live and in VOD form in full HD. They literally just set up a box and let the thing run. Now, this, Valve has expressly now said this is not allowed. But they also want to support the content creators who can potentially do it live by saying you're not allowed to have branding. So branding is everywhere. You can't get away from this. They also said you're not allowed to commercialize things, and really commercializing something means you're going to get momentum, it means you're going to have your own brand out there, and even having someone just click on your Twitch link, your name is in the link. That's branding itself. So you've commercialized because you're getting traffic to your brand, to your stream, which you can then utilize at another point. You can run adverts. In fact, Twitch actually says you need to run a certain amount of adverts all the time. So this is a problem. Commercializing, meaning what Valve tried to clear up, ends up actually not clearing up a lot of things. In fact, it now makes it so you wonder, can I even do this? So you're saying support content creators to do as much content around Dota 2 as possible. You're giving power to the tournament organizers, but still that gray area means that people can still be rogue streamers, and you're not certain if you can shut people down, because the power given through their blog post and some of the wording they used means that DCMAs can actually be contested now. Now, they could always be contested, but having a little bit more ammunition with Valve saying we're supporting more rogue streamers is a really bad thing if you're sitting there going, well, I can shut you down. And I'm going to shut down a stream which has 300 viewers, they're streaming out in French, and they're streaming my tournament, right? So I'm going to do this. And then that French broadcaster says, you know what, I'm going to sue you for this because you've now hurt my image, you've hurt my brand, and you've taken away content that I legally am allowed to have. I'm going to sue you for damages. And they have a legal grounding to do so because some of this ammunition, which is inside the blog post, it hurts. Like, it creates the gray area, which with a good legal team you can probably manipulate. So things need to be clearer, and that's where you have to kind of ignore what Valve said. Like, Valve are just hoping everybody plays nice and it doesn't just, like, they don't want to put their foot down on anything. Valve don't want to stop content creators, and you cannot blame them for that. The more content creators there are out there, the better it is for the exposure of their game, right? And they're going to get minors and majors because they're pumping money in to try and make this happen, and then they've always got TI, so there'll always be a competitive scene, there'll always be that big content that the people can use that they will provide. So they don't care probably as much as having a lot of third-party tournaments, and there'll still be people that will potentially take the place if they depart and saying, I'm out of Dota 2. Obviously not a great thing, but that's a story for another time. So we have to think about, okay, don't want to take him to court. You got so many problems which can come up. What do we do in the future? People won't play nice. It's a business, esports. Even though we would love it to just be all very community-centered, it's still a business. People still make money for the time that they invest. So how do you move forward? Now, I suggested a long time ago, and I was a lot more tournament-focused back then. I was very much like, we must protect everything that Join Dota is creating. And that was the biggest thing. I was terrified that, like, a Razer sponsor would disappear and never come back again to us because someone streamed out their game without a logo sponsor. I used to get the shit ripped out of me because I didn't have a logo visible in the corner of the screen for 5 minutes because I forgot to switch the overlay, and now the sponsor might be leaving the project just because they didn't get what they paid for. And this is what all organizers do fear. They fear not giving the people who are paying for the content to be created what they actually paid for. So how do you protect it? Now, I suggested back then that we have something very similar to a video policy. Now, this was shut down pretty heavily because it made too many conditions on Valve, on Valve's content, and it would basically cripple community creators. And that was just because the conditions, if you took it directly from DVD, it means that you would have residential viewing only for Dota TV tickets, so you could not view this publicly. That would actually mean like things like bar crafts and stuff wouldn't be possible. You'd need to apply for a license for this, and to actually stream it commercially, you'd also need to apply for a license, which means you need to be directly contacted with the tournament organizer if Valve is saying this content belongs to them. So how do you move forward from that? Now, obviously, DVD conditions don't need to be taken over one-to-one. Like, this can be modified where everyone's actually quite happy and everyone knows the ground they stand on. And that's the critical thing. This is the reason why videos like this need to be created, because everyone's sitting there going, wait, hang on, I see a problem here. There's gray area here and gray area there. There's assumptions which now have to be made to try and connect the things which are actually stable through the gray area, and it just blasts everything into like mass amounts of drama and chaos, and eventually it's going to erupt. Eventually Admiral Bulldog's going to stream, someone's going to shut him down, and he'll be like, I'm well within my rights to do this, we're taking this to court, and Valve's request that everybody just plays nice doesn't turn out that way. Someone's going to be jaded, someone with a lot of power, momentum, or visibility. It's going to happen. This is why you plan for the worst case scenario, and that's by making it very public. Now, this actually means it's not just a contract signed behind the scenes. Well, you have someone like Sunsfan saying, well, we run tournaments, and like there was a key phrase which was in here. I don't know if I can quote this, but it's going to be exactly this. And this is why tournament rogue streamers cannot do what they do. This is why Grant can't do what he does. And that's what they said on the Moonduck podcast. Now, obviously, there's grey area and all of that because it's not public information. It's not a legal thing which is accessible for everybody. You've got the video policy that you work with instead. So it's very rough. Now, with DVDs, when you buy them, you had the terms and conditions written right there with what you can do. They have a thing that flashes up at the start of a broadcast saying, on the start of the movie, saying what you're allowed to do. Piracy is illegal. You're not allowed to display this thing publicly. These are things which you can do with Dota TV tickets, where you actually have a terms and conditions inside the game. When you click it and you say, this is what you agree to when you watch this. That is how you can make conditions, and that wording has to be really well refined and beneficial for the community primarily. The community needs to be able to get content, and that means ensuring the tournament organizers can continue to make their tournaments without feeling threatened that their content is going to be destroyed, but at the same time tournament organizers working with content creators and not just shutting them down because all they wanted to do this time around was do a Russian, a Chinese, and an English stream. So it forces them to work with a lot of other languages. People should have an easy way to apply for this kind of like rights to broadcast the content, and it shouldn't be blocked down. And then these numbers should have an easy way to actually reach the organizers, so then they can use these numbers to then promote the sales of their next tournament. This is what should happen. Now, it's a very complex situation. There's no simple answer to it. The only thing that I believe must happen, though, in the future is things need to be clear, less gray area, so everybody knows where they stand, so assumptions don't start killing what could be fantastic content created. Now that's going to be the end of my talk on video policy. I want to do more of these talks. That's the reason why I'm signing up these videos. I want to do 3 things post-TI that I could share with everybody. The first one was going to be my stream highlights, which you can also find on my YouTube channel. The second thing was going to be casting tutorials. I did my teamfight breakdown. If you haven't seen that as well, it's in my YouTube channel. And then videos like this. I want to share my perspective. I want to try and help educate people who are always just like, nobody tells us what is right, what is wrong, what's happening behind the scenes, and doesn't really break the shit out and then get rid of assumptions, get rid of fake news, and come in with what is actually true. So I'm hoping I can help you out with all of this. If you've made it to the end of the video, then that already means that you actually give a crap and you want to listen to what I said. So thank you very much for that. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll be making more of these very soon. Hopefully I'll keep it crisp and short. I think 14 minutes was pretty good for a full discussion on the Valve video policy. But thanks for watching, everybody. I'll make this wherever I go. I'm in Manila right now. I've just finished the All-Star tournament here, about to head to Bucharest. So if anything pops up, if anything's interest, tweet it at me, Facebook it at me, whatever. Suggest I talk about it, and I'll see if I can get to it. Thanks for watching, everybody.